This is Wolf on a book he's just had published about Donald Trump. Very derogatory. And I'm going to turn this around now. That's on NBC Morning Show with Savannah Guthrie, and she's doing a really good job interviewing him. He's written about Donald Trump, and he's called Donald Trump about every name in the book. And they're calling him unfit. When nothing else fails, you bring in the press and the rest of these thugs that are trying to take him down. And I don't mean Bannon. I think Bannon is a good guy, and I certainly think he did a lot in getting President Trump elected. However, it doesn't mean that any of this is true. I think Donald Trump is one of the few the only one, I'll go ahead and say it, the only one that's part of, I hope not part of the Illuminati, that is out to help, to be a president that helped and made things right. Nobody can ever do that for me, okay, what's happened to me. But Donald Trump, I think, is an honest man, and he went in for the right reasons, whereas the rest of your friggin' presidents didn't. They're part of the global government, Freemason, Illuminati. They always have been, and I hope Trump's not. But anyway, the reason I'm putting this up, it just makes me so mad, is you start questioning, the media starts questioning his fitness, is he mentally fit, etc. I knew that was coming. Now, I want to go back to me, and I'm not putting all my information that I've put up for, 5-6 years now on Facebook and YouTube, sometimes even daily, and about finding out about my kidnapping and who my father is, King Edward VIII, who married Claudia Ruth O'Keefe from Sun Prairie, Wisconsin. My aunt is Georgia O'Keefe, who had Ghost Ranch out in Abiquiu, New Mexico. My mother was queen when my father was king. I'm not real sure the date they married, but they never divorced. And he certainly never married American spy Wallace Warfield Simpson, who married a double, an imposter, pretending to be my father. In 1937, there was a forced abdication in 1936, and my father always meant to return. There was an addendum to it stating if he had an heir, it would not disinherit the heir would inherit. I was born in 1939, and Uncle George, my father's brother, who became the illegal monarch, put there by the Illuminati that took my father down, with lies, character assassination, all of it was lies. Had him marrying a woman that he had nothing to do with while he was already married. How do they get away with it? And they're still doing it. 1937, she married, Wallace Simpson married the imposter, not my father, and became the illegal title of Duke and Duchess of Windsor. But it did away with my father, my mom, and then me. 1939, I put up a photo out of, I believe it was Newsweek magazine, where Uncle George, Elizabeth's father, was planning my kidnapping with President Roosevelt in 1939, the year I was born. I was kidnapped in 1941. Now, all these people, the Illuminati, went to great effort because my father wouldn't follow their orders. He was for his country, and he would not go along with the Illuminati, so they took him out, and they put in a king or a monarch who's illegal, but however, they're still there, and they look like they're planning their strategy to stay there. It has nothing to do with right and wrong or justice, and don't tell me that crime doesn't pay. He helped take down his own brother. He sold his soul to the Illuminati. He sold out. He's a traitor, so is Elizabeth and Charles and William and anybody else in that brood. Little George, they'll all go along, and they're not the monarch. So what good is the monarch system when it can be, when a total lie can be perpetrated. The real monarch, the day I was born, there was that addendum that was legal. I am Queen Victoria II, the real queen. I may not have been crowned because I was kidnapped. It would have brought my father back, his power of attorney, and they had to get rid of me then. So this is the nice people that are celebrating this upcoming marriage to Meghan Markle. My father did nothing wrong. In fact, he took up for his country. He's not a traitor like his brother, like Elizabeth and that whole bunch. They've done nothing to correct the wrong. In fact, they've taken every move to not allow me to come back and the truth to be told. They're traitors, war criminals of the worst kind. Excuse me. They're illegal treaties. And the United Nations is a front for the Illuminati, the global government. And yeah, it upsets me. After all these years, I found out in 1983, late of 83, about my kidnapping and my real name. I look back, and there were Brits at times when I was almost killed that saved my life. When I lived on the Appalachian Trail here in Roanoke, Virginia, I came here October the 20th of 86. And by the way, my mom and dad, the real King and Queen of England, King Edward VIII and Claudia Ruth O'Keefe, Windsor, were still alive and married to each other. They have taken great effort to destroy my mom's photographs. You can get George's photographs, my aunt, but you can't find one of my mom. They had her dying in 1984 in Bel Air, and that I was flown out there in late 83 to Bel Air to Larry Flint's home because he'd been shot near Atlanta, Lawrenceville, Georgia, in March of of 78. I was doing a medical malpractice book then. And I was flown out to his home, and then I found out my mom really did own a home there, evidently, when she was young. She was a school teacher. And history, if you look back, they'll look back and you see a blank over some of it that you can't go back and get about my mom. They just blanked her out. They had her dying the next year after I was out there in Bel Air, St. Cloud. I mean, how ironic. And then let me say this. I saw my mother once, and I came up to Roanoke on a Greyhound bus. And there was a lady who, well, the bus became empty, which was odd. She sat down beside me and started talking to me. And I swear she had a pair. You couldn't duplicate this pair of pants that had been mine. I could get into what was on it and everything. You just can't do it. She started talking to me, and she said, she told me my father and mother were still alive. And I'm going to skip what I had to do when I got to get into Roanoke at 3 o'clock in the morning. But I did get to see my mom on a Sunday, a week later, maybe, not even that. I was having to stay at the rescue mission. I was freezing to death, had no money when I came in. And I did meet my mom. She was at the library, downtown library. I met her 3 times, let me say that, really. I saw her once and met her twice. And I thought at first she was Georgia. It confused me because Georgia wore the black and the cane, and that was my mom. They even role played. This involves a lot of role playing, and someone, if they don't hear it all and it bores them, so they tune you out, will say, well, they don't know what you're talking about. When I met my mother, it was on a Sunday, I believe, right after I came, October the 20th of 86. And my mom was there. And I thought, I was a little puzzled because I had seen her the day before. She slept out. And she came up to me when I passed her, and she says, I chose to do this. And she says, this man takes care of me. Well, the man looked like, I think his name's Oliver, what's his name, that took care of Georgia. But all of her last years was a companion, but then he's the one that falsified a will. And everything was under his control, and the O'Keefes couldn't get near it, and Georgia couldn't do anything. She was like a hostage. So I don't think this was really him, but it was kind of the symbolism of the guy that took care of Georgia, Aunt Georgia. And all the money and art. She was wealthy herself. And it's just about all been destroyed. The O'Keefes have paid a heavy price in what's happened to my dad. And, of course, my mom is an O'Keefe. But anyway, they role played the library downtown after she left, and I started crying. I kissed her cheek. I never reach up and kiss, first of all. I just don't like kissing. Um, well, at least strangers, you know. But I reached up and kissed her, and I started crying. I mean, it was just automatic. And I thought it was Georgia later. And she was in the children. She took me and led me to the children's section. And later, before I didn't see her anymore, she was gone. Um, and this went on for 5, 6, 7 years. They had at the Roanoke Library, first of all, let me say this. The gentleman who was um, manager over the that library, he left suddenly about a few days after I came. I remember because I was in the library that day and met my mom. And the books were all scattered everywhere, just like they'd been torn down and all over the library. It was really weird. And then the next day is when the paper printed that he had resigned and he went over to work for Frame One. Well, you getting in? I can read it like a book. Know what they're doing? They frame my dad. They frame me and my children. But anyway, in at the library, downtown library, for all those years, they had a woman who wore her hair like Wallace. She did. You knew exactly who she was portraying. I mean, she really looked like her. And the person that was portraying the double, who looked a little bit like my dad enough that you get it, he worked with her. He was not a tall man. I guess he's a real tall man. He's about 5'7", like my father was about 5'7". So you got the gist of it. They worked together up on at the library for about 6, 7 years, and it was really odd to look, and you knew exactly who they were portraying. But anyway, I later I looked up. They had my mom dying in 84. They had her dying in 86. They had Georgia dying here and dying there. And then they changed the dates and all this. So a lot of effort went into this and to keep it status quo, where the Illuminati control the British government. And look at all that went with the British back then. The countries that were British and everything, and now then the United States lays claim to half of it, and really they control all of it. When you can control the monarch, and well, I hope there's still Brits that can make it right so I can make it right. Let me put it that way, and I totally intend to if I can. By the way, right now it doesn't look that way. So I may sound scattered, so I'm going to, and I've heard people say, well, we can't have, you're going back. Well, yeah, I am going back and forth. It's been my life trying to get it across to the public in hopes that someone out there will help me in getting my name back and what's mine, and for once telling the truth about this horrible Elizabeth illegals and her father and her mother, who was a Rothschild, crooked, and the little ones that follow, Charles. And I want to say this. My father never did any of these things that they accused him of. My father was clean-cut, honest, and good. Integrity that none of the rest of them even know what it is, the meaning of it. And yet now then, Elizabeth and her father stole the crown and helped kidnap me, and yes, she knows all about me. The rest of the family does too. I don't know who doesn't. It's the best kept secret that's not the secret you can ever hear of. But anyway, Charles and Diana divorced. And then he married Camilla Parker Bowles, and she had two children by the first marriage, and she's Catholic. Which all I'm getting to look at all the things that they did that were illegal, supposedly banned you from being a monarch, and go back and look at what they did to my dad, who did it was character assassination with lies. So then we go on down to now then we'll skip to Harry. He's not, well, none of these are supposed to be in line for the monarchy. They should be locked up, the traitors. And but anyway, he's marrying Meghan Markle, an American. Okay, she went to a Catholic school. She's an actress. She's a divorcee. And they're counting on the other fact to get them through it all. If you say anything, why, it's really an odd thing. It's not politically correct. But it was politically correct to do all these things to me, and now I want to get back to Trump. I have not told what the Jews did to me back in 1961 that laid the groundwork for what followed that was done to me and my family. Mark and Scott are heirs after me. Mark is heir after me, and then Scott. They're 11 and a half months apart. And here you got William and Harry over there. Even that's odd, you think. Anyway, I think the thing I was going to say, though, is your ability to lead. This is, well, you got a woman over there who's not even the monarch. She's a traitor. She's guilty of every crime in the book. And I'm here telling you things that you would never hear, and they are the truth. So you tell me who's mentally fit. I've been through a living hell, and I've still breathing as of today. Of course, I don't have my children, and I keep hoping they're alive. You can't even tell people. They don't want to hear it. Don't tell them anything the Americans did wrong. Oh, no, no, no. They will just, anyway, I'll leave it at that. Mentally fit, they're going after Donald Trump. I dare say none of the presidents, I thought Jimmy Carter was the good one. He was from Atlanta. He was the governor, then the president. But then it's my understanding that he sold out to the Illuminati after he got in. So they're going to take Trump down, and then they're going to use that I'm listening to that this morning, that this man who's written the book and lying, they're lying through the teeth. The press is, stop and think about it, if, and it is, what I'm telling you is totally true, why has the press remained dormant and deleted it all? You tell me.